Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous, episode 80. We are, of course, sponsored by MyHouse Sports Gear. You can head over to myhousesportsgear.com, check out what they got going on, and maybe pick yourself, if you're a school, if you're a club looking to up your swag game for Freco season, go ahead and check out myhousesportsgear.com. They've been taking care of us. Tonight on the podcast, or I guess today, if you're listening to it during the day, we got Lars Underbaki. He's back to talk some college wrestling with me. Lars, how you doing?
Doing good. Kind of weird here. I feel like I've been a little out of sorts with college wrestling this year. Been focusing a lot on high school over the last few months. So, I've been watching, been paying attention, but you and Tony and some other guys have been handling that more than me, Nick Ryder. So, going to be fun to actually be able to focus on college this weekend and all the conference tournaments we got coming up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to have at least one, maybe two guys head out to Bloomington for the Big Ten championships. Not sure what's going to go on with Big 12s. I mean, I think that's down in Oklahoma, so that's kind of a deep pull for us to travel down there when we got the Max sitting in Cedar Falls. I think we're going to have as many as 3 people at the Max, believe it or not. So we're going to be, grinding out coverage. Of course, NAIA, Nationals, Grandview is probably going to double up whoever they're going against, whoever their main competition is at the Nationals, and then D2 Nationals, Upper Iowa, they're going to be looking to score some points there too. So there's a lot going on this weekend.
Well, let's not forget I'll be locking it down at Super Pee Wee State in Waterloo.
Yeah. Sorry, that 10 mats going for Super Pee Wee. Is that what Tony said?
Yeah, if I remember right, we did it last year. I think it was 10 mats. So there's a lot of action going on there as well. Obviously, we won't have the same kind of coverage, but it'll be fun. It's always a good time watching those little guys get after it.
Yeah, and did you partake in any of the AAU state action?
I was unable to attend, but I did watch quite a bit of it from home. The live feed was awesome. It was a lot of fun to be able to watch it from here. I helped coach some of these kids and have gotten to know a lot of the, especially junior high kids around the state. So it was fun keeping track and following along.
For sure. And we got lots and lots of stuff going on. So we can go ahead and just kind of jump both feet into the Big Ten seeds, because I think that's kind of the big one. We care about Big 12s, we care about Max, but Big Tens is where it's at. They got some 77 some odd automatic bids to the NCAA tournament. Lot going on there. Lars, do you just kind of want to take us away at 125 on what your thoughts there at this weight are?
Yeah, I think the big question for everyone across the country is Nick Suriano. Is his ankle broken? Is it sprained? Is he close to 100%? That's going to be the big question. Obviously, Gilman's the guy to beat here. Got a couple other guys. Lezak, it looks like if the seeds hold true, will be on the same side as Gilman, which would be interesting. Of course, he had the big lead on Thomas before getting pinned, so that one could be a little interesting, but I think the biggest question here is Suriano healthy? Obviously, he's the biggest threat to Gilman, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and just kind of looking how the Big Ten seeds shape up. Gilman 1, Suriano 2, Lambert 3, Lezak 4, then Connor Utsi 5. So Gilman would have Lezak, like you said, as a semifinals opponent. Utsi, if he can pull the upset, and he'll have Jose Rodriguez as the 8 seed, so that would be his quarterfinal opponent. And we know Gilman, he racks up points. He's been to the Big Ten finals before as a sophomore, I believe. Last year he took 3rd. So you kind of talk about that Nick Suriano storyline. That's the real big one. Just mainly, it could be a Lambert-Gilman final if Suriano isn't completely healthy. So Gilman's undefeated, so that kind of makes that weight a little bit boring if Suriano's out. So we can go ahead and move into 133. Corey Clark sitting at the number 3 seed there. I think this is a 9-bid spot for the Big Ten. So, Lars, what do you think about this weight?
Yeah, this should be fun. A lot of fun. Those top 5 guys, honestly, I could see any of them. You have Tomasello at 1, Montoya 2, Clark 3, Zane Richards 4, and Michik at 5. Those are 5 big-time studs. Really, I wouldn't be shocked for any of them. Tomasello is probably the favorite. Again, injuries. Corey Clark, has he had time to heal up? Is he feeling better? He's wrestled pretty well through all of it this year. He's been close. I like where he's at. Being on the opposite side of Tomasello as well will be a big help for him if that holds true. So, honestly, in my mind, I see a Tomasello-Clark final again. It's kind of what everybody was looking forward to at the national finals coming into the year, and I think Clark's going to get it done and get into the finals, and that's anybody's ball game as far as I'm concerned if it's him and Tomasello.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting. It's real interesting to have Michich and Richards on the opposite side of him. So really, I mean, Mitch McKee, don't want to take anything away from him, but honestly, outside of Montoya, there's no one on his side of the bracket that really kind of makes you nervous at all. So I think that semifinal is going to be a fun match to watch with Clark, assuming he's 100%, which I think he'll be as good to go as we want him to be for this weekend. Moving into 141, there's a couple of guys with Iowa ties here at this weight. Obviously, Topher Carton of Iowa at the 6th seed, and then Sergeant Bluff, Luton, Prep, Colton McChrystal, who's out at Nebraska, are in the number 4 seed. Lars, what do you think about 141?
This kind of opposite of 33, not the toughest weight, but I actually love Topher Carton at the 6th seed. You're opposite of Ashnault. You're dealing with Gillibon, who's been really hit and miss throughout his career. He's definitely beatable at times. Tommy Thorne's a tough out for Topher. But I think there's a possibility that he can make a run on that side. Really the guy I wanted to be away for him was Ashnault. So if this holds true, he's the 6th. I think you got to feel pretty good about that. And Colton McChrystal at the 4. He's got probably Pletcher in the quarters just to get to Ashnault. So that's, to me, a much tougher draw for McChrystal than it is for Carton.
Yeah, I wrote the IA Wrestle Big Ten preview for this weight, and I 100% agree with you that it's Ashnault, and then it's everybody else. I mean, these next, really the next 6 guys, Jimmy Gulibon, Tommy Thorne, McChrystal, Pletcher, Carton, and then Javier Gasca of Michigan State, they're all like within a takedown of each other in every match, I feel like. Obviously, Carton had leads on Pletcher and Gulibon going into the 3rd period, and he kind of faltered late to lose those matches, so he's definitely got a chance against those guys. I think it was 3-1 maybe with Tommy Thorne, so I mean he was a takedown away from or maybe it was 3-2. He's a takedown away from winning it. It was a tight match, so like you said, Carton's got a really good draw. He's away from Ashnault, so if he wants to make a Jimmy Gulibon run, 2016 run that is, because I don't think anybody thought Gulibon was making the finals last year, and he kind of came out of nowhere. And Carton can kind of have that ability in this bracket this year. So moving on to 149, Brandon Sorensen, the number 2 seed. Did you get a chance to go back and watch that Edinburgh duel at all?
I have not had a chance on that one.
Okay, so I mean, that's kind of, it's a big storyline. We've seen Sorensen go down. I mean, he's lost, last year he only lost to Zane Rutherford. He lost in the Big Ten finals and the NCAA finals. And this year we've seen him lose 2 matches to guys he handled Colica last year. Lugo, you wouldn't have thought would have been a problem. All of a sudden he drops that match in the national duel. So just kind of a different feeling going into the Big Tens for me. I mean, do you think Brandon's still rock solid at number 2?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not real worried about it. Part of the reason I haven't really searched out to find it is Honestly, it doesn't really worry me as much. I think Brandon's Brandon. He makes matches close. 90% of the time he's going to win. Every once in a while it might come up and bite him. It did. Um, but really, to me, Micah Jordan obviously is a tough draw, but we saw him handle him in the duel. The biggest question at this weight for me would be, did he really close the gap on Zane Rutherford in that duel, or was it an off night for Zane? We saw him have another close match against Oklahoma State. So have people figured him out? Has he come back to the pack? Does Sorensen have a chance to knock him off, or will we see him extend that back out to a major decision like we saw last year?
It's so crazy because coming into last week, or before the national duels, and I don't think I was alone, everyone was thinking like Sorensen's got a legitimate chance against Rutherford. And I don't, Kale kind of offhandedly threw out the Zane was sick when he was in Iowa City for that duel. Then he kind of immediately backtracked, so you kind of wonder if that was an intentional slip up, or maybe Kale was being genuine when he wanted to take that back and give credit to Sorensen. The one thing to kind of know about, Brandon took him down twice. Everyone was like, whoa. A couple weeks later, Rutherford goes out against Micah Jordan, gets taken down twice, boom, boom, right away. So it's kind of interesting to know that another guy took Rutherford down twice, and yeah, Zane came back and pounded Micah. But it's interesting to think about that maybe it wasn't a fluke. Maybe the gap has been closed by everybody. So I think Big Ten title's on the table for Brandon, but I'm still going to be nervous watching that semifinals match because, like you said, he keeps it close, and you do too many of those matches and you get burnt. So we'll see how that goes. If you don't have any other thoughts on 49, we can move into 57, where freshman Mike Kemmers of Iowa has earned the number 2 seed.
Yeah, we've seen the Kemmerer Burgers show before. Everybody looked forward to it the second time. Mike seemed to kind of extend his lead, or whatever you want to call it. He widened the gap a little bit, but Berger's going to show up. I mean, that match is going to be just awesome in the semifinals. Can he beat Tyler Berger a third time? That's really hard when you wrestle somebody a few times during the year, to keep beating them over and over if it's a tight, highly contested match. So I think that's a big one. Obviously, at this point, you have to consider everybody a step behind Nolf. Nolf's your clear favorite. But can Kemmerer get by Berger again to make the finals, I think, is the biggest question mark here.
And the other big thing I thought about, winning that match with Berger and Carver Hawkeye, I think it, looking back now and seeing where the pre-seeds are, and you see Brian Murphy of Michigan sitting down there at the 6th seed, I think that's a huge win because I mean it's so much different to be having a quarterfinal match with John Van Brill of Rutgers as opposed to wrestling former All-American Brian Murphy just in the Big Ten quarters. So I think that's going to be something that could take something out of that of Berger going into the semis if both guys make it through. So that's really huge to have this number 2 seed. And I'm feeling pretty good about Kemmer's chances on making the finals and facing his former Young Guns teammate there in the finals. And something we haven't really, we've kind of done a bad job at, Lars, is talking about the qualifier bid spots. And up into 157, I don't think there's much, nervousness about whether are the Hawkeyes going to send a guy at that weight. So the first 5, I think, are going through. But it's when we start to look at a weight like 165, I think. Let me go ahead and check. They got 7 spots. Joey Gunther comes in at the number 5 spot. What are you thinking about 165?
Yeah, I think, that 5 is a pretty good spot for him. Those top 4 are tough. Obviously, the top 3 are arguably, possibly even the 3 best in the country. I'm not sure freshman Vincenzo Joseph is quite on their level. He's close. I think Gunther at the 5 is good. The other one that's a little bit scary, even though we saw Gunther and get him pretty good in the duel, is Drew Hughes is always going to be dangerous as well. So I think he's going to be in that mix to get into that 5, 6, 7. But I'm hoping, Gunther finishes somewhere in that range and at least qualifies.
And I think it's going to be kind of something like Sorensen a little bit, where Gunther's gone out and he's wrestled all the top guys to close matches, so it's more of the same of avoiding getting burnt in those close matches. He had a close match with Dustin Williams of Nebraska at Midlands and in the duel, but he kind of, it went opposite sides for both guys. So Gunther's got that ability. He's just got to, cash in and just go and not put himself in a position to get burnt. And then moving into 74, we got Alex Meyer. I believe he's the returning fifth place winner for this 174-pound bracket, and that's where he's pre-seeded number 5. What do you think about Meyer's pre-seeded draw?
Honestly, I don't have an issue with this one either. I think for Alex, I really think he's in a decent spot. Is Bo Jordan fully healthy or not? It's hard to know, but Miles Amin at the 4, Meyer at the 5. I think that's a very, very winnable match for Alex. I think he's got a chance to get past that one. And then, like I say, if Jordan's not healthy, he's a guy that could be picked off as well. I know he has beat Mark Hall this year. That was his first match on, out in the Penn State singlet. I think he's made big strides of improvement. We've seen how close Brunson and Meyer can be. So honestly, I'm okay with this draw. I think we can get by Amin and then take your chances with a, dinged up Bo Jordan in the semis.
I think you hit it right there on the head. You got an inexperienced Miles Amin there in the quarterfinals and an injured Bo Jordan. You're away from Brunson and Hall. It's a win-win for Meyer, so I won't pile on to that. But we move on to 184. Also, going back to Meyer, sorry, that's another weight we're not worried about Iowa sending through. 184, we're not worried either. Sammy Brooks sitting in the number 2 seed. Crazy enough, a returning NCAA champion is pre-seeded 4th, and the returning NCAA runner-up at this weight is pre-seeded number 5 in the Big Ten. What do you take away from these pre-seeds, Lars?
Yeah, this is wild to look at. If you would have told me that coming into the year, like you say, the 2 NCAA finalists are 4 and 5, it seems just crazy. It's been a wild year. Those top 5 guys are all really, really good in this conference. Obviously, Bo Nichols, your number 1. Brooks, Jackson, Martin, Dudley, as far as I'm concerned, you can kind of throw them into a hat any given day. But for me, I would much rather take my chances with Nate Jackson in the semis than dealing with, Miles Martin, well, I'm not so scared of Martin, but Dudley or Nickel. Dudley's always giving him fits, and we all know what Bo Nickel can do. So I hope this plays out. I have no problem with him having to try to get by Nate Jackson.
You're kind of sleeping, or you're kind of dogging on Martin, he's kind of proven he's a March wrestler only. So
March
easy
wrestler
with those hot takes.
He hasn't shown me that he's ready for that kind of a run at this weight.
All right. So we'll move on to 97. This is, probably 165 is you're feeling a little bit more comfortable about sending Gunther than you are about Cash Wilkie here. Comes in pre-seeded 7th, and that is, of course, the number of allocations. So Cash Wilkie's got to wrestle to pre-seed in order to qualify for the NCAA tournament. What do you think about 97?
Yeah, like I said, it's a little worrisome. He's on that edge. I do think that Robertson and Berkowitz are definitely beatable guys for him, but he's got to be ready to go. I like Cash Wilkie a lot. I think he's got a bright future. He's not a true 97-pounder, so we've seen him have some struggles. We've seen him look good at times. I think he has trouble knocking off those top 3 or 4 guys, but I really think he's capable of at least getting into that 5-6 match if he wrestles really well. At worst, hopefully 7th, and at least be able to qualify and, maybe try to score some points for the Hawks at NCAAs.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough pull, but, as a freshman, you're hoping he's progressing through the end of the season, and that's kind of what you're going to have to hope for Cash Wilkie, that the strides he's made this season pay some dividends now it's March, I guess, here in March to qualify, and we'll see what comes out there. And then finally, heavyweight. There's only 5 spots, and they pre-seeded to 8, and Stephen Holloway is not one of them.
Yeah, let me be the first to say I appreciate everything that Stephen has done for the team, given the effort. He's really wrestled hard. He's, again, not a true heavyweight. He's wrestling up. But I think his season comes to an end this weekend, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting next year. I'm still hoping that they redshirt Aaron Costello, can find a way to get some more muscle on Holloway and see what he can do with a year under his belt.
No arguments there. I think heavyweights, if Iowa's got a good shot at sending 8. Cash Wilkie can make it 9, but Stephen Holloway, like you said, you appreciate everything he did for this team, but he's going to need a lot of help to get to nationals, because there's some really good guys in the Big Ten at this weight. We can move on to another conference. We got Big 12s and MACs to go through. We can go to Big 12s. Before we get into that, I just kind of wanted to throw out this news. Jake Alar, Minnesota, was that St. Michael's, Albertville there in Minnesota. Pretty big high school up there. He's going to flip his verbal to Minnesota. We knew he was released. We kind of figured that was going to happen. Talked about that last week on the podcast, so that's official. Also official is, Iowa State got one of their guys that requested a release back. What do you think about the Austin Gomez?
Yeah, I think that's a huge get for Coach Dresser. He was able to come into Ames, have a little time not being the coach, being able to focus on recruiting, focus on alumni, things like that. So for him to go out, retain Gomez, who's one of the top kids in the country, I think is a great start. He's gotten him to buy in. It sounds like a lot of the current wrestlers are happy with the situation. I do think he's going to retain at least close to all, if not all, of their guys, keep most of the important guys. So, I think things are already in progress in Ames. I think it's looking good. Hopefully the Paulsons can coach them up for the rest of the year, get a good finish out of the Clones here, and then, I look for Dresser to do well, and I just think that's the first big step for him.
Yeah, definitely going to be interested to see. Obviously, Dresser's kind of made a lot of comments. I don't know if everybody's listening to all these podcasts and interviews of Dresser like I am. I'm consuming them left and right. But, Dresser's pretty adamant that he's not going to have any, impact on this team as far as coaching-wise going through these last 3 weeks of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of guys are going to want to respond to Dresser, what kind of guys are going to say, hey, maybe I'm going to look somewhere else. Jackson brought in a lot of underclassmen, it feels like, these last 2 years, and it's those underclassmen that might be looking to go somewhere else. So something to keep your eye on. Dresser's obviously a really good coach, but you got to mesh with him, and just kind of wanted to get that out there. Moving on to the Big 12, Lars, I don't know if we want to go through weight by weight. It's kind of a known thing that this Iowa State team is, I don't want to say it lacks talent, but it's struggled this year. And looking at the pre-seeds, only Earl Hall and Leland Weatherspoon, 2 Iowa State returning All-Americans. Those are the only 2 to, they're slotted to go to the NCAAs if they wrestled a pre-seed. Outside of that, what else are you looking at for the Big 12? What Iowa State storyline do you maybe think, will Iowa State send more than 2?
Man, I hope so. Like I said, those are only 2 slotted in there. Really, Earl Hall has had big struggles at times this year. I do think, him and Weatherspoon qualify. I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't. I think a guy like maybe Kyle Larson could climb up a spot or 2, maybe steal a spot. You kind of waited for Gabe Marino to come around this year. Hasn't really happened, so it's hard to, hard to get too excited about that one. Obviously, with Powell going at 84, we all know who's not there. It'd be nice to see Powell come through for him. He's put in the work. He's earned that spot. It'd be nice to see him jump up and grab a spot. Again, might be a long shot. Honestly, outside of Weatherspoon and Hall, I think Quan Smith maybe, or Keon Smith, and Kyle Larson might be their next best shot.
Yeah, again, just looking at the pre-seeds, you got Larson and Smith are both sitting. They're pre-seeded fifth, allocated 4 spots in the Big 12. I'm not 100% sure where they are RPI wise. Maybe I should have looked that up, but I don't know if they're in a good position to get a wild card bid. I'm not sure if that's how Larson had to get in last year, but I do know the Pac-12's already happened. And the number 1 seed at the Pac-12s went down. So there's already one wild card spot that's been taken away, and that's because Gabe Townsend, needed it because he's obviously deserving of an NCAA spot. So I think you hit it on the head, man. There's not very many chances for them to steal a spot. I guess we should throw out a nice little mention there to Ross the Boss Larson of Oklahoma. He's preceded number 2 at heavyweight. So he's got a good shot of going to nationals from the Big 12. Also, Cordell Eaton of North Dakota State University. He's preceded 7th at 197. I think Big 12's only got 5 spots, and I'm not 100% sure on how his meetings with Tanner Ordenoff of Orndorff of Utah Valley and Brad Johnson of Oklahoma is who he'd have to beat to get in. So I don't know. Like you said, hopefully they send more than 2. We can move on to.
Oh, I was just saying. Then Henry Pohlmeyer of South Dakota State is sitting as a 10 seed at 141. So obviously, the Ankeny product would have a lot of work to do as well to try to get through.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and move on to the MAC. Doug Schwab's team surprised me this year. I'll go ahead and say it. They beat Missouri for the MAC dual title. Proud of them for doing that. That's huge. He's doing big things over there in Cedar Falls. But coming into the MAC tournament, I'm just going to say it. These first 2 weights are kind of really throwing me for a loop. We'll start with 125, and maybe we can just look at headlines here. But Dylan Peters comes in number 6. The MAC championships have been allocated 5 bids at 125. So that means that All-American Dylan Peters, who's been to, I think, 3 MAC finals, 2-time MAC champion, he's going to have to wrestle above pre-seed to go to automatically go to nationals.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Seems wild to me. Honestly, if I look at this list, to me, the first 2 names that pop out are Barlow McGee and Dylan Peters, and they're currently sitting at 5 and 6. So a little wild, Yeah, Shakur Laney, Fleetwood, those guys are really good. But again, I'd be really surprised if Dylan Peters didn't qualify. I know he's missed some time. He's been a little beat up. Schwarm's done great in his absence. But if Dylan Peters is ready to go, he's more than capable of winning this bracket.
Yeah, so I think he's going to be just fine. I think him and McGee are going to be just fine. I think Peters kind of got penalized for missing a lot of the season, and I don't think there's a problem with that because if it was Shakur Laney that missed most of the season, and I know Shakur Laney's a good wrestler, but if you're not out there, you don't deserve the best spot. So I'm fine with it, and I think Peters will be fine. 133 kind of surprises me because, again, maybe I'm not giving Schwab enough credit at UNI, but Josh Elber, we know he's a good wrestler, but he's preceded number 1. That kind of, coming into the year, I didn't think that was going to happen. Cam Kelly of Ohio, Corey Keener is a name, Central Michigan. He seems like he's been around forever. So it's kind of crazy to see them seeded 3 and 5th. Respectively, but Josh Alber's coming in preceded number 1 and got a chance to win his first MAC title.
You sleeping on Elber, man? This is his weight. This is, I think he's prime. I really like Josh Elber. I know he's maybe wasn't quite where he needed to be last year. But, I think he's definitely capable of winning this weight as well. And it'll be interesting. There's obviously going to be some tough matches, but I really do think Albert can come out on top.
Oh, we do love Albert, and that's evidenced by our potentially dangerous intro with Josh Albert telling you you're listening to Potentially Dangerous. Also, he picked up huge bonus points from me wearing that Way of Life Rudis shirt with the IA wrestle on it before the Iowa State duel for them. So love Josh Albert. Think he's going to be great. He flipped the script on that Earl Hall match, something he hadn't been able to do. So maybe I am sleeping on the strides he's made this year, so I'm looking forward to that. 141, I think it's worth mentioning, Kyle Springer, Eastern Michigan, former Davenport boy. He's got a good, they only got 2 bids at 141, and so he's going to have to do some work, but, he could be headed to the NCAA championships. I don't know if you got anything else to add at 41, or do you want to move on?
No, I think Aramin's your favorite, but I think Springer's right in that mix for the number 2 spot and getting a bid.
And moving to 149, this is a weight that has got some really good depth as far as the MAC goes. We talk about the Big Ten where you talk about all these good guys. You can have like I said, returning NCAA runner-up, seeded 5th. But looking at 149 here in the MAC, you see a lot of big names. Le'Veon Mays, Justin Oliver, Central Michigan, a couple All-Americans there. Max Thompson, a guy that, you and I have been talking about. This is a guy that could come out as a freshman and All-American. So he's there at number 3. And then you got Steve Blyce, of Northern Illinois, sitting there at the number 4 seed. I think he was the Midlands runner-up, so he's a big name there. So 4 really good guys at 149 in the MAC.
Yeah, I think you hit it just right. I think 1 through 4, this is probably the deepest weight in the conference. All those guys are capable of doing very big things. Like say Mays and Oliver returning All-Americans, but Max Thompson's capable of ruining their party, finding his way in. I do like the matchup with Oliver a little bit better for him. So for those guys to be on the same side, I do like that favorably for, Max having a shot. And then, we obviously know he can go with Mays as well in the finals if that's who he sees. So
definitely looking forward to see what Max can do. It seems like, I talked about Albert just taking strides forward. Max has been doing that this year. Talk about another guy that's been taking strides forward, and yes, I am skipping over 57, but Bryce Steyert comes in, number 2 at 165. He starts the year at 157. Cooper Moore goes down, so he bumps up to 65, fill that spot in the lineup. And all he does is just go off to have a really nice season, including decking Daniel Lewis of Missouri there in the MAC final duel. He's seeded 2nd, I think, because was it who was it that beat him? Do you remember? Was it Sheldon Wright or no?
I really don't remember, but it definitely stood out to me that he was seated behind Daniel Lewis. I thought it was a little bit odd after the head-to-head win.
I feel like he did beat Wright, so it must have been somebody a little bit lower than him that took him. Obviously, probably a little bit of a fluke loss. I'm going to chalk it up because I think it was like right early on when he bumped up to 165. We've seen Bryce really come into his own at this weight. Really, really looking forward. I'll hopefully be in Cedar Falls to watch Bryce just take on the world there. Moving on to 74, the Panthers get their first number 1 pre-seed in Taylor Lujan. What do you think about
Taylor? They got Elber. You're sleeping on Elber again.
Yeah, they slept on Albert. All right. Edit that out. No, so okay. Regardless, they got Funkmaster Taylor Lujan, number 1 at 174. What do you think about him?
You speak of progress. Was a word we used with Elber. We used with Thompson. Same thing here. Lujan's a guy that everybody was a little bit excited about coming out of high school, coming from down south, but weren't exactly sure what to expect. But to me, he's exceeded expectations. He's been, really, really good this year. Like you say, the Funk Master, he's got big moves in him as well. He's just a ton of fun to watch, and I do think he's the favorite here, and I think he's a guy capable of making a run at the NCAAs as well.
Yeah, I love Luan. He's so much fun. Going back to his true freshman year when he wrestled Leland Weatherspoon at the Cyclone Open. I mean, he's right there with Leland last year, and you could just tell he was going to be a talent. So looking forward to him. Moving on to 184, the Panthers get their first number one pre-seed with Drew Foster. What do you think about Foster? Oh, no, I've already used that one. Okay. So regardless, what do you think about Drew Foster coming out and being the number one pre-seed? That's still a pretty big,
yeah. So
pretty
this
big headline
one,
here.
if you asked me at the beginning of the year, this is the big surprise. You know, I know Drew Foster's been a good wrestler. He's always been solid. But for you to come in and tell me that he was going to be the number one seed in the MAC, I don't know that I would have believed you. You know, Jack Deckow's been around for years. Everybody's known him. Ellingwood's good. And you just didn't know exactly what to expect of Foster. Some people even thought Holschlag would be here at 84. So for Foster to come in, have the year he's had, take over this spot, it's just been really exciting. And I'm looking forward to him here. I think he's in the finals, and it should be a great match with him and either Deckow or Ellingwood.
Yeah, Foster, he's making a believer out of me. And you know they've had some struggles with those upper weights the last few years. They've had a couple really good guys, but to struggle to consistently put a string of upper weights together has been something Schwab's had a hard time with, and having two guys preceded number one at the upper weights is probably a really big feather in the cap for the old UNI staff. And even Jake Holschlag sitting there at 197, he's preceded number 6. He's probably an 84 pounder, and here he is preceded number 6. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we just talked about that. I think probably more natural 84, but he's been able to slide up and fill in here, and real tough kid. I was extremely high on him coming out of high school. I still think he's got a bright future, and he's capable of making a little run here, getting into that top 4, and it'd be great to see him qualify this year, and then just build on that going forward.
Yeah, only has to steal one spot. He just got to get in front of Steven Segulo, or maybe Segulio. I don't know. Jason Bryant's probably losing his mind right now listening to us, but Mac qualifies 5 guys at this weight, so Holschlag coming in 6. He's got a shot to go. And then the storyline, I think, at heavyweight, J.J. Everard comes in with the pre-seed number 3. That's where he's got to finish if he wants that auto bid to the NCAAs. But concerns about health are
hopefully he's ready to go, can be healthy, and can stay in the top 3. Qualify would be big for UNI. He's another guy. If he's healthy, he's capable of winning a match at NCAAs or winning 2, and maybe getting some much needed team points for them. And so hopefully he can find a way through and give him another qualifier here.
Yeah, so we'll be looking forward to seeing what all 3 Iowa schools and our Iowa preps do at their conference tournaments this weekend. Like we said, NAIAs, D2s, Pee Wee State. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff going up on IA Wrestle, so hopefully you guys are checking that out. Then we kind of look at Lars. We got this event we're putting together, apparently.
I haven't heard a thing. Are there matches coming together or anything?
Yeah, apparently there's this event called War at West Gym. It's going to be March 11th. That's a Saturday. And it'll be, it's the War at West Gym, so it's at the West Gym there in Cedar Falls. You can get tickets now. You can go to IA Wrestle. There's a tab at the top. I believe it's the home, watch live, and then there's War at West Gym tickets. It takes you right there. You can get them pre-sale $8, or they're going to be $10 at the door. So you can kind of save yourself a little bit of money if you buy in advance, and you get to skip the line. So just kind of keep that in mind. Looking at these matchups, we'll get into them because you're the man that's doing all the legwork on these. So I'm going to let you take away. We got 2 in-state battles that I want to start out with. So why don't you preview those 2 matches?
Yeah, we got a couple of really good ones here. Matt Robertson from Davenport Assumption, 2A state champion this year, will be taking on the 3A state champion, Braden Burt of Western Dubuque. Both these guys came in ranked number 3 at the end of the year, had really solid years, but had guys ahead of them who are maybe a little bit more well-known. But they both, went on tears. They had amazing seasons, amazing runs through the state tournament, and I really think this is going to be a fun matchup. These guys are both extremely dangerous. Robertson can hit throws from anywhere. Burt's can pin you on top from any, he's just a beast up there. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun matchup. And then we also have a couple of guys who won state titles at 170 this year. You got 3-time state champion Marcus Coleman of Ames. He was originally slotted to take on Joel Shapiro. Unfortunately, Shapiro had to withdraw. But hey, what better can you do than get another state champion for him? Brock Jennings from Osage, 4-time state place winner. Went out, won the 2A state title this year. Been wrestling extremely, extremely well all year. So I think he's going to come ready to wrestle, and it'll be fun to see how he stacks up with Marcus Coleman.
Yeah, get a little bit of that 3A, 2A, 1A. Those little classes are hungry to take on the big boys. So get a little bit of that action for you at the War at West Gym. And then we got 2 other matches we announced, and apparently Paul Cleary wrote you a nice little check because, I'm seeing a couple more Western Dubuque boys here.
You can't take it away from them. They stepped up, had 3 state champs this year. And these last 2 are nationally ranked guys. Everybody knows Max Lyon. If you from Iowa and you don't know who Max Lyon is, you obviously don't like wrestling. This guy has dominated 3A the last couple years. Just a beast. He's currently ranked number 15 in the country, committed to Purdue. So what do? We went out and got the number 16 guy. Let's make it quite a match here. So we got Jared Kradiger from Waterford, Wisconsin, coming in to take him on. Obviously, everybody wanted to see Chase Schultz and Lyon. Chase is moving on to football. We reached out to him, but that's not happening. So we went out and got another nationally ranked wrestler for Max, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be a really, really fun match there. And then at heavyweight, Aaron Costello, this kid, just the progressions he's made over the last 2 years is amazing. He had a huge win over a highly ranked kid at the Night of Conflict last year. Just kind of keeps climbing those national rankings. He's all the way up to number 8 in the country by Intermat. Just won his state title this year. And, he wanted everybody. He was ready to take on anybody and everybody. He wanted the best kids in the country. So we went out and to North Dakota and got Brandon Metz from West Fargo. He's number 4 ranked heavyweight in the country. So we got number 8 versus number 4 coming to West Gym. And, these are 2 monsters. These are huge guys, huge upside. And I can't wait to see what Costello can do against this guy.
Yeah, you already talked about that Night of Conflict when that was against Sammy Evans. But, this is familiar territory for Costello. I think he was down 4 spots in the rankings too, Evans, coming into the Night of Conflict. So you'll bet he's hungry to get this win. Mites is pretty hungry to come in. He's been pumping it out on social media that he's excited for this match. So he's by no means sleeping on Aaron. So I think he set up a good one there. So like I said, folks, go ahead, purchase some tickets. We already announced that Tristan Lara, Zach Barnes match. That's going to be a fun 3A state battle or 3A state champ battle. And then we got that pro bout between Kyvan Gatson and Blaze Cabell there, number 5 versus number 10 in the United States. And I just looked tonight, and the Gatson crew, they just purchased some tickets. So if you're an Independence, wrestling fan, you remember Blaze, why don't you show up and give them some support, because I already know the Gatsons are showing up. So get out, show your support there. Lars, you got anything else?
Keep your eyes peeled. We got quite a few more matches coming. We've got the card pretty much full now. We will be announcing more matches yet this week probably and into next week. So we have some more great ones coming your way.
Lars, you pick another match. You can go ahead and give one more
we're gonna
out
drop
here.
another one.
Anyone
How about
you want.
I'm a little excited about this one. Everybody on here knows how much I enjoy watching Keaton Gertz from New Hampton, 2-time state champ. This kid's an animal, always has been. He wanted somebody good. We tried a few different guys in state. Instead, we went out and we got Jacob Bergeland from Minnesota, returning state champion. Minnesota's got their state tournament this weekend, so he'll be looking to repeat. He's ranked in the top 20, I believe 17th by Intermat right now. So a real good opportunity. He's a Minnesota commit, so another opportunity for Keaton Gertz to prove that he belongs with all these national ranked kids. So I think it's going to be a real fun matchup, and I know Gertz is looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you got to. Everybody's going to want to win their match at this event, but you got to think, Gertz and Laura especially. This is the gym that they're hoping to wrestle in college someday. You got to think that they're going to be hungry to come out, prove themselves, and they're always going to want to remember that first time in West Gym, I tore it up, and just use that confidence to project them into their college career. So really looking forward. You set up another good match there, Lars. You're pulling in some good out-of-state kids for this event, so want to give you props there. You can give us a follow on social media. We're at IA Wrestle on Twitter, facebook.com/IA Wrestle. Give us a like. You can follow Lars on Twitter. He's at Lars IA Wrestle. I'm at Ross B. Check. So thanks for tuning in to Potentially Dangerous, and we'll see you guys soon.